Good morning and welcome to the Pleasure for Health podcast. My name is Ailsa Kepi and I'm here in Nova Scotia. We have a very sunny day today, but I'm taking some time away from the summer weather to share with you some interesting insights and a framework of looking at our life force, how we build our own vitality, how we build our life purpose, and how we end up feeling fulfilled, but not just in our sexuality, but in all aspects of self, which in this case, we're going to focus on sexuality, spirituality, and creativity as being really vital to our own um, life, really. Like, I know I'm saying life a lot this morning because it really is about life. And many people come to me for work to do with their relationship and how they communicate with their partner. Maybe they're feeling depressed, maybe they're having issues with their sexuality. And what I want to impart to people is that this is not just a one aspect fix. This is not about taking the pill for an erection. This is not just a pill for, being lubricated. This is not just a pill to have an orgasm. This is about your life. This is about vitality. And this is about creating a place that in your own body and in your own psyche, in your energy field, that you feel really alive. And I want to come from this perspective of the Celtic Triple Goddess. This is something that I have personally worked with for many, many years, having a Celtic origin, but also just really feeling called to the Maiden, Mother, Crone aspect of ourselves. And if some of you listening don't identify with Maiden, Mother, Crone as maybe feminine archetypes, you can absolutely substitute boy, father, mage, or wise man. You can substitute other words if those fit you better. But what we're basically looking at is the different eras of our lifetime. And to be fair, we don't always come at these eras from a chronological age. Some of us maybe come more with crone wisdom when we're children, and move into the maiden energy when we're older, and sometimes we kind of mix and match. And ideally, I don't think they're meant to be stages that we move through one at a time. They're meant to layer on top of each other and become aspects of ourselves that we integrate and that we can call on when we need or want to encourage different parts of ourselves to come forth, depending on what we're doing or how we're being that day. So to dive into that, I've been, to give some credit, I've been listening to Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She's one of my favorite teachers. I haven't worked with her in person, but her books and courses have profoundly affected me, mostly because of her storytelling, the way that she brings story and myth and legend. That just speaks to me. I was always very interested in fairy tales and myths from a young age. And so it spoke to me. And this idea of the maiden, mother, crone, and whatever words you substitute there, have come into many of our mythologies and our archetypal stories in many different cultures. And so I think there's something here for all of us, is what I'm trying to say. So if you are feeling lack of vitality, or that life is just kind of blah, or that you're losing hope, this is the exact perfect time when you want to really listen to this triple goddess idea, because we can delve into it and find out where we're losing ourselves. So let's take a moment and just notice this idea of the maiden. I'm going to use these terms. You substitute your words. The maiden, the mother, and the crone, and what aspect you are feeling called to at the moment. So let's look at sexuality, for instance, because we do focus on that quite often in this podcast. and look at how your sexuality would be expressed as the maiden. In the maiden energy, how would that be expressed? And, I'm just riffing here, but, I'm sure you can come up with many ways that, your burgeoning sexuality would be, discovering your beauty, coming into the fullness of who you are, finding that passion for life, that connection, that sort of sexual drive that you have as a young maiden, that you feel you want to dance, that you want to show off yourself, your sexual self. And you can see how that type of sexuality coming from that maiden energy could be brought into, an older woman or an older man or an older person, could bring that energy when you want to celebrate that kind of spring wild dancing type of sexuality that you feel really celebratory of. And then if you looked at the mother aspect, how would sexuality be expressed from the mother? This is an interesting one. I've noted my own self that my sexuality changed a whole lot when I became a mother. Um, it was fulfilled in nurturing my children. It was fulfilled in breastfeeding. It was fulfilled in lots of ways that that baby skin that touched my skin. I mean, not in a weirdly sexual way, but it was an intimate and way of celebrating my erotic self in a way, not as in overwhelming my children, but just it was a very sensual experience having children. And I think the nurturing comes into many relationships, when you're with a partner, even there's times when that nurturing kind of mothering way of enjoying your sexuality can come into a relationship and can come into even a physical intimate act. um, and so it's interesting to look at. This also brings up, Clarissa Pinkola Estes brings up the idea that the mother can sometimes also represent our cultural expectations of whatever it is we're dealing with. So, if our cultural expectations of sexuality, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, how we ought to behave, how we, need to kind of look to the outside world. So, this trying to shape, as a mother would, trying to shape her children, trying to teach them how to be and how to fit in. So, this can sometimes come out in the sense of controlling our urges to a certain extent, right? Not going completely crazy. Like that maiden energy of just kind of frenzied springtime gets tempered by, okay, wait, we need to kind of hold this space. We need to be aware of what we're doing in the wider context of our family or of our culture. So there's that aspect of the mother energy of sexuality. And then there's the crone, which is one I'm really moving into at the moment and really enjoying looking into. And the crone is the older, wiser person, right? That doesn't care what anybody says or thinks. They don't care. The crone doesn't care if she looks old, if she has wrinkles and scars and, whiskers on her chin, all of that stuff, because she's really comfortable with who she is, or who they are. And the crone can enjoy the humor. I think humor comes into it here. The humor of sexuality, right? It doesn't always make sense. It's hilarious. It doesn't work all the time. It's unique. What is your particular quirks about it? There's all these aspects of the crone that you can come into your sexuality as well, and that we can use to round out our entire being into this fullness of what sexuality is for us. And you can see how those three aspects would bring very different, very different experience of our sexuality. And we can do the same thing for spirituality. We might have a different a different take on spirituality as a maiden, as a young person. You know, it's very idealistic. We want to move toward, you know, we think we can surrender and that will be easy, and that maybe spirit will always look after us. Maybe we have this very childlike view of spirituality. And then we come into the mother archetype and we realize that there's there's things we need to take care of. We need to watch ourselves. We need to do well to in order to have this relationship with spirit. And then when you get to the crone stage, there's um, this kind of trickster almost quality of how you relate to spirit, where you're kind of cronies. We even call it cronies, right? So there's this interesting spirituality that comes, and also this quietness, this quiet, I've been here before, I trust that things will work out. I think trust comes from the crone a lot as well, trusting that things will work, that what seems like an insurmountable issue right now in the moment to our maiden or our mother self can just be sat with. We can just hold space for it, and we've seen it before, you know, things like birth and death. These are the aspects of the crone can hold space for this. And we come to creativity, and this is often something that people don't understand as part of becoming a full human, becoming fully creative. And creativity doesn't mean you're an artist. It doesn't mean that you have to work as an artist, that you have to produce anything that is good. It just means like letting your own spark of creativity come out, whatever that is. It might just be how you make your cup of coffee in the morning. It could be how you get dressed. It could, you know, whether you put on a fun pair of underwear, whether you put on a fun scarf, you know, things like that come into this idea of creativity. And the way that we approach creativity also changes, whether we're, you know, coming from the maiden, the mother, or the crone. Um, so I wanted to just kind of give that framework of that, because those three things, creativity, spirituality, and sexuality, um, create vitality. And vitality, you know, what is that? Well, it's this sense of aliveness, this sense of enjoyment, that joy. Things that people come to me and they're like, well, I want, you know, when I ask them, what do you want from the work that we're going to do together? They want more joy, more peace. They want, you know, potentially they say the word vitality or life. They want to enjoy their life. So these things come from working with these three aspects of yourself, the creativity, spirituality, and sexuality, and broadening those by opening them up into this triple goddess idea, the maiden, mother, crone, you know, and finding out who you can be in um, all of those aspects, and bringing, you know, all of that, having the option. You know, I give my clients a lot of time, I'm like, well, you have, you know, these things are working well, and some of these things are not working so well. And maybe we want to just give you more option, more choice, in the sense that you're not feeling stuck in a certain particular way. Like if we got stuck, we can all kind of probably name people that are stuck in one of these three aspects of the triple goddess. So we might know someone who's stuck in the mother aspect, and they just, you know, they can't help themselves. They just mother everybody, and they're looking for how to make things fit in, you know, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And that's great up to where it goes, but to be around them all the time, you start feeling like, well, there should be something else here. There needs to be a shift. You know, I don't always want to be mothered. I don't always want to be told how to be and how to do and what's your advice and all of these things. So having more choice around bringing different aspects of ourselves can create relationships and intimate relationships that have depth, that have the ability to be resilient to the changes and the ups and downs of life, right? Because if, you know, life is not a straight line for sure, and anybody who's lived more than like a day probably realizes that we're all over the place, and especially in the world today. So we want all of these these options available to us. We want to have worked with ourself enough to know that, yeah, if my maiden energy isn't working right now, if I'm not feeling juicy and sexy and turned on all the time, what else could I bring to this relationship? Well, I could bring patience of the crone. I could bring, the witnessing. I could bring the mothering, the caring aspect of the mother, right? I could bring other things to this relationship to keep it alive until maybe the maiden energy, reasserts itself at some point. And we can have options with that. And there's ways to work with, strengthening any one of those three aspects. It's not about just being young and I'm old, therefore I don't have this maiden energy anymore. So, we want to keep that same energy working from when we're, it might be when we're young, it might be when we're older. So that's really what I wanted to bring into this. And this type of work it's fulfilling. It's not necessarily quick. If we come to this work thinking, well, I just have this one issue, like I want to get better at this one thing. But when you expand that out, you realize that that one thing could be a key to opening up a whole new realm for you in your experience. And maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you just want to fix that one thing. But, from my experience, people, humanity, being a self, being a human doesn't work that well like that. We're not machines. We're not something where you can add just another gigabyte of memory and suddenly that's fixed everything. If we're just adding more information, that doesn't help. We have to integrate. We have to become more whole. And becoming more whole takes time and it takes courage and it takes aspects of all of the triple goddess aspects to bring, to our work with ourselves. And sometimes it helps to have a guide or a mentor. In fact, it often helps to have a guide or a mentor. I have many guides and mentors, and I'm always looking for new ones when I have new paths in the woods to explore. And I would offer to some of you listening that if this sounds like it excites you, if there's something calling to you, then do reach out to me at pleasureforhealth.com and let's see if we can work on, how to incorporate these different aspects in your life so that whatever it is that is, maybe the problem in quotation marks becomes the key to a transformation for you. And it may offer you things you've never even dreamed of before. In fact, I would highly say that's highly likely that it will take you to those different things. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, was just these different aspects, how wonderfully vital life is and how amazing it is that we have these different aspects to bring to our sexuality, to our spirituality, to our creativity. And for some of you, if you're listening to this while I'm recording it, it is early July 2024. I'm offering, we have seasonal retreats based on the Celtic calendar here at Our Celtic Hearth. And we're offering a writing and somatics retreat at the beginning of August, which I'm really excited about. At the beginning of November, again, we will do another retreat on discovering self and working with some of this. So do check out Our Celtic Hearth and see some of our retreats that are coming up, because this is also a way. Writing is a way to work with this. Somatic, the integration of the body is a way to work with this. And some of my favorite things to do to help people is to integrate all of these things that I have found over the years to be helpful. And I have many, many different and very varied skills and learnings that I bring to my work. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And maybe if you're interested in this, consider how the different aspects of yourself make up who you are and what you're bringing to the world. And definitely stay in tune, and I will see and talk to you all very soon. Have a wonderful day.